Hello. Welcome back to Final Album February. Today we are taking a look at a final album that some people might not consider a final album. They might consider it a disgrace. But today we're taking a look at The Doors' final album, in my opinion at least, 1972's Full Circle. Now, I'm going to give you some background on The Doors. The Doors were formed in California in 1966. They were a big part of or not a big part, but they were, a part of hippie culture. They were very popular around the time. Most of the bands I'm talking about I've spoken about were pretty popular in their time. Obviously not so much now. But then again, nothing good is really popular that now for the most part. They formed in 1966, put out their first album in early 67, famously fronted by Jim Morrison, and of course you had Ray Manzarek on keyboards, Robbie Krieger on guitar, and John Densmore on drums, and they would, over the course of less than 5 years, from 1968 to 1971, they would put out like 6 albums, which is insane. They would put out albums at a rate of like 2 a year. Their debut album in 68, their Strange Days in 68, 2 albums in 69, 2 albums in 70, and 1 album in 1971. So it's like it's a lot. It's a lot. Now I already dove into that background in the review of my debut album. Now, Jim Morrison would die in France in 1971 at the age of 27. It's believed to be a heroin overdose, although it could be alcohol as well. Who knows? And the Doors would carry on for 2 albums. In fact, if you listen to an excerpt of John Densmore's book, the album which came out right before this, Other Voices, that was like they were already writing material for that. So that album may have turned out the way it did, even if Jim Morrison had survived into, past the age of 27, because he was off in France, purportedly writing a novel. Really, I think he was just, getting drunk and doing drugs. But it is tragic what happened to Jim Morrison, and pretty much the remaining Doors, the remaining trio, kind of just went till their contract with their record company ended, and that's where this album comes into play. It comes out after Other Voices, which didn't do great. I think it's an okay album. It's far from their best. And Full Circle, I'd argue, is worse than that album, but there is good stuff on it. There are moments on here that are actually better than the Other Voices album. It starts off with Get Up and Dance. It's like a decent 1950s style opener. Robbie Krieger does a very good Jim Morrison impression, or at the very least, he's a good substitute. And it's a fun 1950s toe tapper. It's nice. 4 Billion Souls, it's another decent toe tapper. Not sure who is singing. It could be John Densmore for some reason. There's a very cool jam in the middle, and then there's a fun guitar solo that plays it out. It's again, the first song wasn't a super strong opener, but the second song, it's not the best thing the Doors have ever written, but it's pretty good. It's pretty good. And then Vertilac, this is like the first piece of like actual, classic Doors sound. There's some saxophone in there. Ray Manzarek is singing this one. There's a sax solo and a guitar solo that happens simultaneously, which is very, very King Crimson-like. I'm sorry I'm wiping my face so much. It's just cold out here, folks. It's a King Crimson type moment. It's a good fucking song. I will say it's pretty good. It's not the best on the album, Or actually, no. It's the best as an overall package on the album. There is a moment on a song later that's better than this. But as what do I think the Doors should be? I think this is a very good... If they had continued in this direction, I think they could have had a good career in the future. But, obviously they didn't continue after this album. Well, they did, but... Hardwood Floor, it could have been on Morrison Hotel if the lyrics didn't suck. And again, it's another one with Ray Manzarek on vocals. It's alright. I don't know. It's just kind of really repetitive. It's a bit overly long for its own good. And most of the songs on this album are not all that good to begin with. It is fucking windy out here. I am sorry about that whistling noise. What the fuck? Jesus. This is getting ridiculous. Good Rockin', it's another 50s thing. It's Krieger on vocals. It's too damn long. It's too damn fucking long. And then The Mosquito, it's got a stupid-ass intro, and for a second I thought it was going to be a stupid-ass song, because it has an intro that's, doing this, mock Mexican thing, and then it, has, a mini jam, and then it goes back to the mock Mexican thing. I thought that was going to be the whole song. I thought the whole song was going to be, that stupid Mexican thing with some jammy bits. But then it goes into the rest of the song after the second Mexican thing is a very good jam after the first minute and a half of the song. And the jam should have just been the song. Add an intro to it, and the jam could have just been the song, and you could have left it, and it would... again, it would be the best song on the album. It would have been one of the best Doors songs, because it's very proggy. Ray Manzarek goes apeshit on the keys. It's a very, there's an excellent guitar solo. This is what the Doors, this is what this whole album could have been, and it wasn't. It's a very disappointing album, I will say. I don't think it's outright bad. It's just disappointing. Song number 7, The Piano Bird. It's another proper Doors tune. There's a flute that's spiffy. Ray's vocals are pretty good, and it's a legitimately great song. There's not much else to say about it. It's just a good jam. I wouldn't not listen to it again. You know what? I don't necessarily think I'd go out of my way. I don't think I'm gonna. I would go. I want to hear The Piano Bird on any given day. But if I just randomly heard it somewhere, I would jam along. It's a fun little song. It's a little bit jammy. It's not quite as jammy as The Mosquito, but it's all right. Song number 8, It Slipped My Mind. It's a bluesy toe tapper. I believe it's Robbie Krieger on vocals. Again, it could be John Densmore as well. There's a very cool guitar solo with a guitar tone that's very different. That is typical for the Doors, but it works. It really does work, and that's all the more there is to say about that song. And then the Peking King and the New York Queen. It's another 50s thing, but it's kind of stupid. It's not all that great. It would be cool as a Frank Zappa song. If Frank Zappa wrote this, it feels like something he would write. It really does. There's some Cold War mentions. Overall, not a bad album. It's not great. You can give it a listen if you want to. I don't necessarily think as a whole package it comes together, but there is some good stuff here. And that, I guess that does kind of sum up the Doors discography as a whole, even though most of their albums are very good, in my opinion. But I get it. It's not everybody's jam. The album cover for this, I don't have it, but it's the only album cover that the Doors did, whether, it was, while Jim Morrison was around or not, and, posthumous live album releases and such. This is the only Doors album cover that does not feature either a photo of the band or a photo of Jim Morrison on his own. So that it's very strange. It's a very prog rock album cover. I'd say you should give it a look. It's like a Yes album It's kind of like if a Yes album cover was generated by AI. Well, no, that doesn't work. It's a weird fucking cover. That's all I'll say. It kind of has, there's like this portal, and then there's like the evolution of man, or the diagram of man growing up thing coming out of it, and the dude at the end of it kind of looks like Jim Morrison with his beard. It's a weird fucking cover. It's a very Undoors-like cover, so I do understand why this album didn't sell well. I do understand why this album didn't review well. The band would tour the album, and but by the middle of 1973, they would stop because their contract was up, and they were just like, you know what, let's not do this anymore. Which I think is a shame. I think they could have improved as a trio. If they had continued along the direction of some of these songs that I praised on this album. After this album, Ray Manzarek would put out a couple of solo albums. Robbie Krieger and John Densmore would do some solo projects, but nothing super major. Ray Manzarek would form a band called, I believe it was called X or Super X, something like that. And then there would be, some Doors reunions over the years, notably at their Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction. The three surviving Doors would perform together with Eddie Vedder of Pearl Jam on vocals, and he does a pretty good job. There would Robbie Krieger would perform with Creed. They performed Roadhouse Blues and Riders on the Storm at Woodstock 99, which is pretty good. I will find those and link those in the description for you if that's something interests you. And then there would be Ray Manzarek and Robbie Krieger would team up with Ian Astonbury of some alternative band from the 2000s and do Doors at the 21st Century, weirdly without John Densmore and instead with Stuart Copeland on drums, which is fucking stupid. And then there was a lawsuit, and then those two would tour as Manzarek Krieger until until Ray Manzarek died in 2013, and then I think Densmore and Krieger have done some stuff together in the years since then. So, yep. That's where I'm going to leave it. If you've enjoyed this video, leave a like on it. If you have something to add, please feel free to do something in the comments section down below. If I've gotten details wrong, please feel free to correct me on that. If you want to continue along my musical journey with me, please feel free to subscribe. If you want to hear me talk about something other than music, I have a podcast with two of my buddies. It's called Dorkies. I will leave a link to the latest episode of that in the description below. And if you want to hear what I happen to be listening to that day, or a 15-second segment at least, you can follow me on Instagram at Sean_Heister1979. I post a 15-second segment of a song on my story there every single day. And with that, I would like to thank you all very much for watching and remind you to stay weird and keep jamming. I'll see you in the next one.